My topic is not so innovative. It's more of those reminders or bringing awareness, reminding us what is important during these trying times for many. As I said in my introductory video, I mentioned that I believe that these days people need support more than ever. And so my topic is really the importance we all play in the well-being of the employees these days, may it be HR, L&D, or leaders in general. So I spoke about this topic with many different supervisors, HR, with various leadership on different levels. And it seems like it's really being appreciated these days when, apart from business topics you bring to your team meetings, to your town halls, also the topic of the well-being of everybody, checking on them. And I know that many things that I will say are common sense, but my question always is, are they common practice? So we do know that we need to be supported more than ever, but are we actually doing it? Are we checking on each other? Are we actually asking each other, how are you? But really, how are you? How are you doing? Is there anything I can support you with? So that's my topic for today. I will be sharing a presentation. I'll start sharing now, if that's okay, Imsu.
Yes,
All right,
perfect.
let me know.
Now it's the time. Yes, you can share your screen
Let
now.
me know once you
Perfect.
see it.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So I think the title is giving it away. The role is really significant. There is so much we can all do these days when it comes to support of everybody. Probably there was never a better year to talk about this. And as you suggested, Imsu, I'm gonna turn off my camera just for the sake of better connection while I'm presenting, if that's okay.
Yeah, that should be fine.
So, alrighty. The funny thing was that last year, around this time, I was finishing my course at Yale University through Coursera about the science of well-being, and I was also invited to Madrid at the HR and L&D Leadership Summit to speak about the topic of well-being. And it's kind of funny to me now when I think back how little I knew how important this topic will become in March. So shortly after I actually delivered my presentation on this topic. Since then, it's been a year and we've all probably talked about this topic in one way or another. So what I want to bring to this table is really a conversation, really just awareness, just taking your time to sit back and maybe think of what you can do to support your well-being during these days. And when I say you, either your personal, your families, or people around you, or people that you lead. I would like to maybe start just by using a little bit of data before I go into defining different aspects of well-being, and maybe talk about briefly about stress and its impact on productivity. As you can see here, some research that I mentioned here suggests that 1/3 of employees would consider resigning due to lack of well-being focus of the company. And I'm sure that many of your companies are doing many things in this area. Also, the numbers below are showing how important all of this is. So you probably know from many trainings you guys do and many classes you took or neuro leadership or different classes that a stressful brain can really be productive. We all know that if the network of amygdala is on, then the other part of the task focus network can really function. And so, the part of the brain where the decision making happens can really work properly. So when I talk about this topic, I sometimes hear from people, oh, it was like, not that business related, it's more maybe abstract to some people, but I just want to really link it so that everybody on the call is on this with me, that it is very much business related, because only happy brain can be productive. Only happy brain can be innovative. You can really be innovative or creative if you are stressed out, because your brain will be completely hijacked by the stress, and therefore the task focus network will be off. Only one can work at a time, as we all know. So one of the contributors to workplace stress is not enough support from managers, as you can see down here. And I think we know that most people claim to leave their job not because of pay or boring tasks, but mainly because of the manager. So this presentation is also talking about the power any leader has when it comes to well-being. There are certain things we can do and certain things we really can't. But maybe I just wanted to say with this slide, like, let's have a look at all the stress people are going through these days when it comes to pandemic, people sick around them, dying, losing family members, losing jobs, all the other stresses of everyday life. And maybe we should just really pause and see if there is something we can do for our people, or at least not to add stress to whatever they already are going through. As leaders, you can always see what impact you have on those around you, and how can you maybe eliminate at least a little bit any stress that you would be adding by the way you function, by the way you manage, by the way you lead. So those things are also important, I think, that these days to reflect on. So this is just like a quick slide that I just wanted to run by you. And really, the reason I'm saying all of this is just to remind us how much power we have in our hands, how much we can impact those lives of others, and how much they need us today more than ever. And during these challenging times, I always tell to the supervisors that I have the privilege to train or coach, is that in this huge challenge lies a huge opportunity. This is really the times when we can show our people how much we care, when we can build that rapport with people. This is the time when you can prove that you really care about your people. You can really invest in that emotional deposit and build that relationship. Okay, maybe I'll just move on now to talk a little bit about those different aspects of well-being. So let me share this slide with you. When you look at different aspects of well-being, again, it's just something that we all need to remind ourselves when it comes to which one of these do we focus on enough, and which one of these maybe we can choose to focus on more in 2021, to have a little bit of actionable items when we depart from this meeting in like 1 hour, to have something that you would like to work on. So again, many of these things might be self-reflective. I just want you to pause, think of this time as your time, forget what you need to do in 1 hour, and just really spend this time on your own self-reflection. When we look at these different aspects, I would just maybe like to go over them real quick, each of them, and you can reflect upon all of these and see when we go through which one you are good with and which one you want to work on with, more on. And then also, how about your people? Are you spending enough time on certain aspects with your people? Now that you are most of the time virtual, so you don't have that coffee time together on the floor, you don't see each other every day. So what do you do to fill that gap of, let's say, social connection, bonding, all of those important things? So let me start with the physical health. I think that physical health became our focus globally during this pandemic. And the work environment, when we look at the work environment, we also always talk about health and safety. So it also falls under the physical part. So different employee injuries, most companies go regularly through some first day fire drills, based on the country where you are, you follow certain rules regarding the work environment. even, it entitles like light, chairs, all of those things that you all are aware of. So when we go back to the offices, I think we will also, and many will now, I think, rethink the way their physical environment is set up. And if you already have people in offices, I'm sure you are following so many different rules that we never had before. So all of these things are just important to be aware of. And also, companies have lots of benefits when it comes to this kind of health aspect. I don't know, some sports days or health days, or they have some benefits with certain sports companies. So all of these things are extremely important, because as we know, physical health really affects our emotional health as well. So when you are looking at this, look at it from your perspective. What strategies do you use for yourself to stay physically strong, as that's a very important part of your well-being? And also, what do you do for your employees as the employer, or as if you are L&D, if you include any of those things in your trainings, for example, when you facilitate a class? Do you look at people's physical state during your session? How do you, I don't know, design your session, or how you plan your breaks, or what do you do when you go from maybe a part of the session when you talk and when you discuss, and then part of the session when people move around? All of those things, again, are important to all of us, and maybe this is time when we can sit down and reflect on how we can do it even better. So my question to you is, how do you, as a leader, support this aspect of well-being of your employees, and how do you support it for you, yourself, or your family? The second aspect I just want to touch upon is the intellectual aspect. And that is the closest to us, because we are learning and development professionals. However, many times people don't think of intellectual aspect as part of well-being. So I just wanted to mention it here, as it is so close to our hearts. How important it is for people when they are going through tough times, or even in regular life, to have that intellectual stimulation, to have those options to grow and to really learn new things, grow as people, grow as professionals. Again, we here know how important it is, but how many times in many companies it's something nice to have rather than, being in the middle of the importance. And we always say that people are our most important asset, but do we really treat this part of them like that? Because those regular talks about career progression, for example, or what their aspirations are, what their plans are, what their goals are, and how do they align with the company strategy, are crucial. And many times those are not happening. So again, it's just something to maybe think about. How do we do it in our company, or how do I do it for myself? What can I do even better? And then again, a big part of the intellectual aspect is productivity. How do we what programs do we have? I ran few programs on performance management looking into productivity, but the basis of that is really that the brain is okay. We cannot start with stressed brain, as I mentioned at the beginning. So very important how we encourage the innovation, how we encourage relationships. How do we build those relationships? How do we connect all of these different aspects, as physical will affect our ability to learn, and then our ability to learn has a huge affect impact also on whether it's a social learning. So again, those relationships of the trainer or facilitator or coach with those people will affect your competency, the way you are able to do things, or whether it's a will or a skill issue. Is it something that I know how to do, but because of the relationship, I don't care, or I don't do it, or I skip it? Or is it a skill issue? So all of these things are interconnected, and as I go around, they will all kind of come together. For me personally, the intellectual aspect is really important to keep on stimulating people and understanding that even during times when we are focused on something else as our priority, learning should always be a continuous thing that never stops. And, you know, some people sometimes say, but what if I develop my employees and then they leave me? Because they will become so great. But then the question is, what if you don't develop them and they stay, right? So really important aspect. Very much connected to social. I already mentioned the relationships between the trainer or coach and the coachee or mentor and mentees is crucial. We all know that without rapport, you can really have that influence or impact or really come across to those people. But when it comes to the social aspect of well-being, I think it has been impacted this year more than other aspects because of the quarantine and the isolation. And we all are social beings and we need to connect with others. And we also know that isolation hurts our brains. It's literally toxic. So we all need that touch, that hug. And I'm sure many of you are trainers, and I'm sure you are missing that connection in the classroom if you were doing it before in the classroom as well, not only virtually. And again, it's biological. It's not only you know, that we think that that's how it feels, that it feels good, but it actually releases certain hormones, neurotransmitters that increase our mental resiliency. So to be mentally resilient, we do need to hug. We do need to have those people around us. We need that interaction. Even if you feel like I don't really, I'm an introvert, you actually do. There are lots of research is done about that. Inclusion and belonging is our basic need as human beings, and contribution through different charity events is definitely very rewarding for our employees. In general, we know that people love to work for a company that contributes to society. And we do know that relationships are our main source of happiness and stability. So the need to bond and and converse more frequently these days is really important. That communication can be really over emphasized. So again, my question is, how do you as a leader or L&D leader hold your team together during these times? How often do you have team meetings, one-on-ones? I'm mainly a leadership trainer and a soft skill trainer, and usually I really emphasize how one-on-ones are more important than team meetings. Because many teams do have team meetings, but they don't seem to have regularly scheduled one-on-ones too often. So again, my recommendation is talk as much with your people as you can, and I'm sure you guys are all very experienced. You do the same. You are encouraging your supervisors in your companies to have as many meetings as they can. If they can put on their camera and really get close, and don't only talk about business, talk about whatever the person wants to talk about, connect on that personal level. It's really important to show your people that you care. As I mentioned, this is a great opportunity to do it now. And you know, people don't really care how much you know until they don't see how much you care. So winning the heart before winning the mind is definitely a good strategy to have when it comes to the bonding and relationship building. Um, and again, it's very connected. For example, when we talk about creativity and innovation in the intellectual aspect, I'm not going to be innovative and creative. I'm not going to come up with new ideas and run it by you if I don't trust you, if I don't feel safe, if I don't feel safe to fail, if we don't have that kind of rapport. I'm not going to be innovative because I'm not going to dare to even tell you things that you might tell me that you don't like. So very much connected, very important. I know that it's common sense, but again, being aware of these things when we are running stuff, when we are in that circle so busy. I think it's just important to pause and have this time for us, just to come together like this and maybe self-reflect a little bit. How do we do it? The emotional aspect obviously again interconnects because it consists of feeling secure that I just mentioned, feeling stress-free, confident, empowered, certain, right, in these uncertain times, trusted and trustworthy both. But also, as you can see here, having a purpose in life. We do know how many people get through very difficult life situations because they understood their meaning. So this aspect has been affected hugely. As a coach, I can definitely confirm that mental and emotional health became our priority. We have so much happening in the world of jobs, and the job situation in the market is causing so much uncertainty and stress and loss of that firm ground under our feet that we probably will see, even once all of this pandemic is over and all of the changes happening in different organizations are over, we will see a huge impact on mental health. And to be honest with you guys, for me personally, I chose this as my priority for 2021, really focusing on mental health, on well-being of the employees, and offering extra coaching sessions to people who need to talk. And just being heard is so important these days. It completely changes the chemistry in the brain. The oxytocin gets released, and it's so important that you just listen to those people. Many times that's all they need to help them with their emotions. And when we talk about emotions, we don't talk about suppressing negative emotions and ignoring those. It's important to talk about those things as well. But then we want to refocus on what's still good, right? On those good emotions. We want to refocus on the gratitude. And I think that's one of the sessions that many L&D professionals are running now with their teams. And if you don't, again, we can inspire each other. What do you guys do with your teams these days? What do you offer as trainings or workshops to your guys, to your teams, to your organization? One of the things I do offer classes on the signs of happiness or gratitude or even mindfulness. I believe that mindfulness will be one of the sessions of the future for L&D. And it's already taught at all the Ivy League universities, at all the huge companies, so Fortune 500. So I believe mindfulness is a topic that if you are not doing it yet, again, it's something to look into, and it's something that people will probably need more and more as we come out of the pandemic as well. So again, the question that you can ask yourself or write down or ask others around you is, what do you do as a leader to lower the stress in you and in your employees? And just really take time today and reflect on it. Take your time for yourselves as well. How am I feeling? How would you describe your emotions? And what is it that's happening? How can I be stronger? How can I focus more on this aspect of well-being to be there for others? How can I be mentally more resilient during these times? And there are lots of techniques. We could have a separate session, and I do run it quite often these days, the science of resilience, I call it, where I talk about different techniques and traits that resilient people have. So I don't want to go into details. This is really just bring your awareness to this topic. And I'm pretty sure that many of you are running very similar sessions on resiliency with your guys. So I just wanted to mention it here. Okay. I just want to go very quickly over this slide. I just listed a little few tips to improve employees' well-being. And again, many of these would be when we come back to those centers, to those offices, or doing it virtually now. I just listed simplifying technology. Really now during the virtual, many people working from home office, it's really important that we make it easy for people to collaborate. There are lots of collaboration tools out there, so I'm sure your companies are looking into it. In those areas in the offices lately, it's been happening a lot, different breakout areas, where your colleagues can relax and kind of unwind during their breaks. I know that many companies have been refurbishing and changing how their meeting rooms look like, going kind of with a different decor, and having like a massage room or some kind of game rooms and different things. So all of these things are contributing to employees' happiness and mental break from everything that's happening, so that their brain can be again more productive when they go back to their desk. And the last one I just wanted to mention, and I'm sure many companies do have this, it's the Employee Assistance Program, or so-called EAP. Again, it could be given as a benefit to employees to have a certain person they can talk to for the psychological support and well-being. You can have internal coaches, or you can have somebody external, some psychologist that people can talk to when they don't want to talk to their direct supervisor, but they want to talk to maybe somebody outside of their organization. Okay. This I wanted to mention to you as well, this model, and I know that many of you know it or use it. It's this modern model called servant leadership. I hope that you heard of it before. It's just one of the approaches to leading people, and it's quite a lot talked about. So I wanted to mention it here. I believe that times when bosses were bossing and workers were working are long gone. So with our globalized, sophisticated and educated workforce, we really need to shift the leader's mindset and serve first. So servant leadership is all about focusing on, do those served grow as persons? Do they, while being served, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servants? Shifting the mindset and serving first as a leader is where leadership is heading. So I just wanted to run this by you. If you use this model in your company, great. If you don't, maybe just an inspiration to look into. You can also see the leadership cycle here. And when I look at this apart from learning culture that I'm trying to do in my company a lot, but today I'm talking on my behalf, not on the behalf of the company. But another thing that stands out to me is really the trust part. With servant leadership, we can build trust better because, again, we are showing to people how much we care about them. Why would you do it? Why would you even choose these things? Again, just a little bit of data. You can see here that you can increase employee retention by 50%, according to the study, by using servant leadership behaviors. And you can see the 9 key behaviors of a servant leader that I listed here. As I mentioned already, serving first. So not bossing around, but really serving, understanding that, you are here for your people. And as their leader, you are here to support them or partner with them to be successful. Big part of that would be building trust, because without trust, people will not be innovative, as I already mentioned. And living really your values, being that role model, being, that integrity that we always talk about, being transparent, being able to not only communicate clearly your messages, but also listening to understand, not listening to react, right? And adding value, demonstrating courage. When you ask some people what is leadership to them, they will tell you that leadership is about courage. And it's important to demonstrate it as well, and through that increasing your influence. We talk about transformational leadership these days a lot. So I just wanted to run this by you and remind you how important, how huge is the role of the leader, how significant is the role of all of you in the well-being from this perspective as well, from the perspective of how you lead, how you manage, how you build that trust. We all know that trust consists of character and competence. So we can build it through both of these aspects. I do a full session of the science of trust, and it's very popular. It seems like it's something that is the one thing that changes everything. And at the same time, it's not a topic that makes it so often to our classes or to our workshops. So again, maybe just something to inspire you with. Do a session on trust, talk about it, have the discussion, see how people do it, how do they feel about trust or being trustworthy as well. So I just wanted to emphasize its importance and impact. You will find in lots of popular literature, when you read about trust, that a big part of it is this oxytocin, right? The neurochemical that is called a hormone of trust, or also a molecule of morale. But we do know that it's a pro-social hormone that is making us more caring and connected. And leaders who understand neuroscience aspect of leading people know that it's very beneficial to increase oxytocin levels in their employees. And you can do that by meeting often, talking often, sharing, not only business, but also that personal stuff, sharing feelings, caring about each other. And build is and trust is built by those two things, by your character and your competence. But if you ask me which one to start with, I will always say start with character. And that's what I mentioned before, and I will repeat it, that people don't care how smart you are, how much you know, before they don't see that you care about them. They need to see your integrity, and then they of course need to see that you know what you are doing. But always start with character, with winning the heart, before you worry about winning the mind or showing how smart you are as their leader to be respected. Also, when it comes to oxytocin, if I may, I'll just like to share one more thing. It's very often mentioned, that it's this pro-social hormone, and how it affects other hormones as well, or it is affected by other hormones, like, for example, estrogen increases it, or testosterone actually decreases it, or epinephrine, right? So again, adrenaline, if you are stressed out, inhibits oxytocin. So if somebody is holding a gun to your head, obviously you will not trust them and your oxytocin goes down, right? So again, very connected on the biological level as well. So understanding the neuroscience always helps to L&D professionals and leaders. Just understanding that when you are scared or when you are stressed, you don't really trust. So that's another reason why to lower the stress, if you want to build trust and increase the oxytocin. But what I want to also mention is another thing that is not so often mentioned in the popular literature, and that is that what happens is that oxytocin increases when we make connection, but only towards those people, and it's making us more pro-social, but only with those people that we already care about. What does that mean? If you increase oxytocin in a situation or environment where people divide themselves to us and them, then oxytocin will, interestingly enough, actually make you more antisocial, more aggressive, more xenophobic. So my suggestion would be, instead of being, so focused on increasing oxytocin, I think we should also focus on expanding the empathic circles, to have more people in our circle that we care about or consider them our people. So first, expand your so-called empathy circles and then increase oxytocin. This is just a small suggestion from me, when I looked into this topic, how we need to be also aware of expanding those empathetic circles. And I think empathy in general is an important topic that we need to talk about, emotional intelligence and understanding what's happening in the society around us between different groups of people or in cooperation between different departments, right? I think it's also our role to understand this and talk more about empathy and basically EQ in general. So for the summary, before we go into Q&A, I would just summarize this, just a few notes from me, if that's okay. So pick one well-being aspect to focus on more in 2021. I don't know, Imsu, if we are able to do the poll or we are not able to do it technically.
Yes, Marcela, I think it's on your end. If you can, just click on the poll option, I think that will pop up. Do you see the poll option on the bottom of your screen?
Actually, now that I'm sharing, I don't see it.
Okay, maybe you can minimize your window and
I'll stop sharing for a second. And okay, I can see it here, so I'll just launch it. Let me see. Let me know if that works.
right.
Okay. So you guys can vote now. Thank you. Okay, I'll just give it another 30 seconds for everybody to have a chance to vote. So which one aspect of employee well-being do you find the most important? Physical, emotional, intellectual, social, or well-being is not important to me? So far, nobody answered that. All right, I'll stop it in 4 seconds. So as we can see, the winner today in this group of almost 200 participants is emotional. 73%.
Are you able to share the result?
Yeah, let me do that so that
great.
everybody sees. Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Wow, so that's a huge number, right? A huge number, emotional wins today. And yes, it is something that I chose for myself as a learning and development manager and as a coach and mentor to focus on in my classes this year. I'm offering lots of classes on well-being, on different aspects of well-being. So it's definitely my priority this year as well. And again, it's not only for others, but also for ourselves. So what can I do more this year when it comes to my mental resiliency, when it comes to my emotional life? It's something that we can maybe pause and think about today after this summit. All right. So I'll stop sharing this and I'll go back to the presentation and I'll just finalize some summary tips from me. All right, let me see, where do I have it here? Okay.
Yeah, Marcela, since we're ending, maybe, you can turn on your video. That would be a great interactive view for the viewers as well.
Yeah, I'll do that, no problem. Let me just share this. Oh, okay, but now I don't see my camera here. So let me finish this slide and then I'll turn on my camera.
Sure. No
so this one just real quick. Okay, so I'll go back to the presenting mode. Alrighty, so as we said, pick one well-being aspect to focus on more in 2021. if I can inspire to introduce well-being conversations to your company, if you are not doing it already, then great. I would highly recommend it. From my feedback, it seems like it's very highly appreciated. People really want to talk about it, and they are pleasantly surprised that somebody actually, created those sessions and took the time to ask them how they are doing. And I know that you are doing it many times individually, with your people during one-on-ones or with your teams, but you can also do it on a town hall, or you can create different sessions, workshops, make it more fun. So again, encouraging more frequent one-on-ones now that we are more virtual, more frequent than ever. Winning hearts before minds is something I want to mention in my summary that I mentioned throughout this presentation. Creating psychological safety. I know we talk a lot about psychological safety and building trust. I did mention oxytocin. Practicing empathy, developing your emotional intelligence. Again, there are so many different ways to do that. And I know that this group of people is a group of people that is really into self-development and learning. So, discover maybe another training, another book about emotional intelligence that you would enjoy. And being a servant leader, again, a model that I like to mention, and transforming the culture in our organizations, maybe learning from this, what we went through, and understanding how we connect and how we can maybe connect differently. Meeting often and regularly, and always supporting the learning culture, as that's our passion of everybody on this call, I believe. Being transparent, open, and communicate as much as you can. You can't over communicate these days. Try to eliminate that stress. We already talked about the reasons why. And if you can inform about the upcoming change sooner rather than later, then again, that helps the brain to go through that cycle of change faster. Being inclusive and winning as one is something that I'm always passionate about as well. And holding ourselves accountable and each other, and being a role model, right?